Feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make it change.
Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everybody? Thank you for clicking that play button, and thank you for tuning in. Very special guest today. Of course, they're all special, but today's guest is a dynamic musician known for his unique fusion of hip-hop and rock music, often referred to as rock hop. He gained significant recognition with his breakout CD release, also called Rock Hop, which earned him multiple awards at the 2015 Review Music Awards, including Best New Artist of the Year and Best Hip Hop Performer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Redburn in to the studio.
What up? How you doing, man?
What's up? What up? We gotta get the crowd in real quick.
Yeah. Hey, though, I appreciate you for having me, and I appreciate that you are doing this podcast. We need more.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, the whole reason why the whole backstory of why I started this podcast. Like, I love independent music. Like, kind of the whole music scene kind of just like took a slump. Like, it was all mumble rap. Mm-hmm. And the mainstream music just kind of sucked other than like the whole 90s crew like Eminem, Dr. Dre, and Snoop and all like that. So I started this show and I was like, well, let's get all these independent artists out here that have all this talent and very little people are seeing it. So what can I do to help? And this is my way of reaching out and helping it. Like, I can't make music, so this is my way of helping.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I started off that way. I mean, I came up as a DJ, so a DJ and a promoter. So when I first started, I wasn't making my own music. So, it was kind of like my job was to support the local scene. And I did that for a long time. I've still DJ. So I've been a DJ for over 25 years. But before I became an artist, it was probably like a 15-year mark where, and I started off as a street DJ, nightclub DJ. But I got into the mixtape world, back in the early 2000s when there wasn't, the internet wasn't popping like that yet. So you really had to hear the hard copies. And so I was one of the few Michigan mixtape DJs. So, we would create these mixtapes and we would travel all down I-75 all the way down to Florida, selling mixtapes and putting on, Michigan artists, and I pretty much just compiled the hottest music to me. And a lot of times it was who could make a mainstream track, kind of like for radio play. Because back then radio was the top of the chain, FM radio. So mainstream, anybody can make music, but make a song that could make the radio and have a solid hook and a hot beat. But of course, we did a lot of underground music too, but yeah, so I've always been a supporter of of, especially where I come from. I'm from Saginaw, so I've always been a supporter of the local scene, and I know how hard it is, for artists to. I mean, these days they're a little easier, and I say this a lot. I'm like, look, these artists have no clue how good they actually have it, because the tools are presented right here in front of you. You can create your music, you can promote your music, you can distribute your music all right from your laptop. You don't even have to leave the house unless you're doing a show. So, back then you couldn't even get into a studio unless you had the credibility or the respect or so the choice wasn't yours to be able to become an artist back then. It was the people around you. It was the path takers, the studios, the DJs that would spin your music in the club. So I just try to tell these younger artists, man, be grateful, because you have these tools, and that's kind of an ambition statement as well. Like, look, man, you have it easy. Take it and run with it.
Right. Right. I always tell the younger generation, it was like, you don't want to be 40 years old and realizing what you want to do with the rest of your life. Like, you're young enough now to where you can go for it and fail a couple of times and be good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and being an artist, being an independent artist, it's all about failure. Failure is part of the whole process, because you're gonna, it's like when when your expectations are high, you can be disappointed many times. Even at my age and my level, I have certain expectations of my music, and sometimes it doesn't meet the criteria, and it doesn't meet the standard, it doesn't meet the numbers, and it can be disappointing. And you have to be able to control that, or else it'll send you into the ground, in a deep depression. And a lot of artists that have been around, like myself, we've all been through that. So I always tell younger artists, like, look, man, treat this as a serious hobby. Don't try to just rely on it, because it's not easy, and you have to understand the business in order to make this an actual career. I think a lot of artists may think it's just like, let's make some hot music, throw it out there, and and everybody wants to believe in themselves and believe that they have a vision, and in that vision they see themselves on big stages and making it in this work, in this career path. But at the same time, it all that connects to the expectations and disappointments, because if that's your expectation every day, is to grow, and it doesn't happen, again, it can send you into a dark place.
Yeah, it was like that was kind of like with me and like basketball. Like, all my eggs were into one basket, and my grandma's like, "You shouldn't do that. Like, you should actually have a plan B." I'm just like, psh, I'm going to play in the NBA. I'm gonna play in the NBA, but and then it didn't pan out. So
yeah, I can relate to that. I played hockey as a kid. I played college hockey. So it's the same thing. And a lot of kids, when they step up to the next level in any sport and they get cut, it's like, that's a stop in their career path. There's a yield there, and they're forced to go on a different path. And it's like, any occupation or hobby define who you are. And I think a lot of artists, they go through that. You go back to like the Michael Jacksons and the Justin Biebers, and it's like they get into the business so young, the business defines who they are. And then when something goes sideways, they lose it, because they don't know who they are. It's a crazy dynamic on how that works.
Yeah, like I don't understand, like, being that young, like, especially Bieber's age. What, he was like 12, 13 maybe when he's first jumped on the scene.
Yeah,
like he was a drummer, and he could drum, and he could play the guitar, and he could sing, and he could rap, and it just seems like, why would you put somebody that young into like a national spotlight like that and expect him to be okay when he's 25?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is they don't get a chance to be a teenager. So later, they want to be a teenager, and that's why you kind of see, if you pay attention to Michael Jackson's career, he was kind of like immature adult because
Mm-hmm.
he didn't really have a childhood. He was a workhorse, right from the get.
Right.
But that should be like a standard. But the music business, the record labels, they want to sign you when you're young because number one, they know they can get 4 or 5 albums out of you because you're so young, and number two, you know, you're gullible, you're naive. I mean, it's almost like this big machine that takes advantage of you almost, and it
Yeah.
was that. But not only that, on the business side of things, younger kids have more free time to listen to music. Those are where your biggest fan bases are. Is when you're a teenager, you're not working, you're sitting around on the weekends listening to music and kind of just letting time pass. So
Right.
psychologically, you can tell that that's where a lot of fans were over the years.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it seems like the younger generation is where you want to hit at too, because that, like you said, that's what they're doing all day. They're listening to music. On the way to school, they're listening to music. On the way home, listening to music. When they get home, music. At
Yeah,
least that's what it was. That's the way I was when I was a
I
kid.
mean, I didn't start rapping until I was in my 20s. So I don't think I started rapping until I was like late 20s almost. Like,
Oh
but I
yeah,
was a
wow.
DJ and I advanced, and I was on a regional, semi-national level as a DJ. So when I became an artist, it was, and then I was with Girls Going Wild. I was creating music for them. So as soon as I started pushing my music through their networks, I had a platform. It wasn't like I was starting from, the basement. So,
Mhm.
so I started late, which, at my age, I can't make music. I can make some novelty tracks for a 15-year-old because a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, they haven't even experienced in life yet. So sometimes
Right.
it's hard for someone like me to connect with the younger crowd because a lot of the music I'm writing, they just can't relate to. And some
Right.
can though, some have, old souls, they're born with old souls and
Yep.
uh, but that's the gift of technology is, whatever you're into, you can find it out there. Not just in
Yeah.
music, just in anything and everything. So you get in where you fit in.
Yeah. You can pretty much whatever you want to find, it's at the tip of your fingertips right nowadays.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
we
Yeah.
don't
Any
like you
kind of
don't.
sound, no matter what kind of artist you are, there's somebody out there that will connect with you.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole back. I don't know. I was talking to I had Bag of Tricks Cat on like a few weeks back,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was
Felix,
talking.
he actually mixes my music.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn that.
He mixed. Shout out to Felix. He mixed Villain, and he mixed Jack. Both of these newer tracks. Yep.
Oh wow, yeah, we're gonna get into those tracks later. But yeah, that guy seems to have his hand in everything. Like everybody I talk to be like, yeah, Felix, he does this for me. Yeah, Felix did this.
Yeah.
For me. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's busy man.
He made it connect. I mean, he's Whitney Payton. Shout out to her.
Mhm.
I mean, she's I call her. I mean, I call myself a tour rat because
Uh-huh.
I love being on tour. I mean, I used to tour all the time, and so she's a tour rat. She's been. I mean, that girl has toured her whole career. So she's pretty much connected with the entire nation when it comes to whomever.
Mhm.
But I think Felix coming out of her camp, I'm sure he's connected with a lot of people through her. But
Right.
yeah, he does a good job. He's good at what he does.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. He's a great guy to talk to, also. But,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
phenomenal
absolutely.
job.
We get on the phone and yeah, it's always at least 30 minutes to an hour. So he's savvy with the business, and it's nice to have those people in your corner because a lot of people they just don't understand the business. They just
Right.
do this or do that. But when they understand the business, there's something to talk about.
Mm-hmm. It's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, understand. Yeah, you can like me. You can do a podcast, but you got to understand how to market it. You got to understand where to go to market it.
Oh yeah, it's not easy. See, I actually
No.
this is a podcast studio that I'm in. I built this
Yeah.
to start podcasts. But as you know, it's not easy. You know, and I've done a few podcasts, but I guess I'm just not ready to dive in full time doing podcasts, but that's definitely in the plans. You know, I'm an intellectual person. And you know, the podcast that I'm working on it's not a music podcast. It can be based, I mean, we can dive into music, but it's based on, just a lot of different logical, conversations.
Right. Yeah, I think I watched like the one episode that he had on YouTube, and it was like with someone with like mental health, a mental health doctor or something like that, psychiatrist or something.
Yeah.
I forget her name.
We did Barb Smith. She's like the Tri-Cities. Her organization is probably one of the biggest suicide awareness organizations. We did a suicide awareness show at the Vault in Saginaw, and I teamed up with her to sponsor. Okay. And so at that point, I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to do you know, I'm not presenting my podcast out there as a brand, but I'm going to do this episode. You know, I'm a huge supporter of mental health awareness for sure. 100%.
Yeah. It's something that needs more attention, honestly. Because we just like chalk all these things up to like, okay, he's got a disorder, it's like this, take a pill and it'll solve everything. But
yeah, and honestly, man, the podcast that I have, you know, I go in depth into the health. I'm very, very intrigued about the health industry. In 2018, I had a brain tumor removed. They went through my nose all the way to the center of my head where your pituitary gland is. And I had a tumor that was on the pituitary growing off it. Wow. And it was so heavy that it was pushing down on it. And I mean, so previous to that, I felt like I was dying. I was laying in bed for a year straight. You know, I didn't have energy, fatigue, low libido, all these symptoms of basically low testosterone, because the tumor was actually causing it. But we could go into that for hours. So like basically to sum that up, you know, the Band-Aid that they were giving me were pills, you know, so right. And I was never a pill person. Even when I was taking the pills, I knew that this was something very temporary. But not everybody has that strength. People become dependent of these pills. And, you know, but a pill is a Band-Aid regardless. It's not, the pill is not going to resolve the problem. It's basically just, it's as simple as, I don't know any other way to call it, but a Band-Aid. It's a temporary fix. So, so yeah, I'm really deep into that. I'm really deep into the medical field. I have a lot to say about that. I have a couple chemist friends, a couple doctor friends that are also very deep in it. And, you know, the result is Western medicine most of the time is not the answer. You know, there's a profitable business that exists that take advantage of, you know, people. And a lot of the people in the bottom of that triangle, they don't even understand it. You know, they just they collect a paycheck and push the meds, and you know, it's just a job for them. So they just do what they're told.
Yep. They make more money off the cancer patient than they do actually curing cancer itself. So
yeah. And
it's sad. A
lot of people they don't grasp the logic in that because of the way that they're trained to think. Like, you have to, in today's world, you have to be able to drop everything you've ever learned and relearn everything in a logical manner. Like it has to make logical sense. Not something, well, I was taught that when I was younger in my family, you know, they think that way, or my spouse thinks that way, or my father or my grandfather. Like, you have to be able to go, you know what? I believed that way for so long, but that doesn't even make logic. You have to be able to, logic is like the word that you need to put into any kind of belief. Like, it has to be logical. If it's not, then it may not be true, you know?
Right. Like, I think the whole COVID thing, like, opened up a lot of people's eyes about our medical facility and our vaccinations and all that good stuff.
Yeah. But that way
Right.
of thinking has been around. I remember like in 2005, I had like my landlord was an older black dude, and he had got out of prison, and he gave me a CD, and he was like, "Man, you want to hear?" Because we got into some conversations. He gave me this CD, and it had a couple documentaries on there, man, and the things that were in it were, I mean, I sat up for 5 days, like digging into just more and more and more and more. So the information has been out there for a long time. You know, touching on like the conspiracy theory world, but a lot of those conspiracy theories are becoming true, over like the past, 6-7 years. So yeah, that's a whole nother wormhole too.
Yeah, it's yeah. But, like, I would like to get like a medical like doctor who actually knows about everything to come on and actually talk about that, because
Yeah, I had a podcast and I never put it out. He actually called me a day or two after and was like, "Listen, the more I think about this, we can't put this out," because he's a part of medical associations and he has certain licenses, and some of the things he said were so truthful that he wasn't comfortable putting it out, so we never put it out. But he's a chemist, and
yeah,
it's like it's beyond even a doctor. Now you're talking to a chemist who will logically, chemically make this make sense. Like that doesn't make sense because that chemically it just doesn't make sense, and you can't deny the science,
right,
but we grow wanting to believe a doctor, we grow wanting to believe anybody in a professional occupation. We want to believe that they're bringing you the truth when it's just not always. You got to be your own doctor. I think that's the best advice I could give anybody is do your own research, find your own logic, and be your own doctor.
Right. And like you said, with technology the way it is today, it's like I said before, it's like right at your fingertips. All you got to do is look.
Yeah. Oh, it's all out there. It's all out there.
I mean,
but
I'm not
wants to pay attention. Mostly, nobody wants to pay attention to certain things until it's actually happening to them. But now,
right,
like it's already in motion. So if you have a health condition, you want to try to avoid these health conditions. But I mean, I didn't even know what the pituitary gland really was. I mean, I heard about it and we learned about it in school, but you don't pay attention to those things until you have a problem. And now it's like, now I want to know everything about it. Now I'm going to obsess on it,
Like it's like the third eye, isn't it? That's what we call the third eye now?
You're thinking of the pineal gland.
Pineal gland, there we go.
Yeah, you're thinking of the pineal gland, but the pituitary the pituitary gland is a gland the size of a pea, and it controls all your hormones in your body, which is insane.
Wow.
The hormones are at a microscopic level, but this little pea-sized gland, basically goes, okay, throw that hormone that way, throw that hormone. I mean, it is incredible the way we only know a very small percentage of the human body. The brain is the most complex organ on this earth. The human brain, and we know very little, honestly. If you dig into it, it's like, and we only use a percentage of it on a daily basis.
Right.
And we're becoming more and more advanced, just in hockey, because I'm a huge hockey player. I still play on several teams today. But, sports have advanced. Like you're seeing faster players, you're seeing higher jumpers, stronger, because we're learning how to advance. And we're always going to advance more and more and more and more. And it's similar to the human brain. Like we only use a very small part of it because we only know so much, Right. So it's crazy, man. These wormholes can go deep.
It's tempting to go down them. I'm telling you right now, it's real tempting to go down them. But we'll try not to. But we're probably
we
going
to go back to the music.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so at first you started out as what age did you start out as a DJ?
So I came out of high school DJing. I DJ'd. I'm from Saginaw, but I got in a lot of trouble when I was a kid, and my parents moved me up north to a small town called All Gray, up by Tawas, Northeast Michigan. I ended up graduating from high school up there, and shot straight back down to Saginaw. Moved like the day after graduation, boom, packed and moved out. But to sum it up, I got into some local nightclubs DJing. And the first time I ever DJ'd, I remember it was called Bubba's Roadside Inn. It was on Bay Road. And the owner basically was like, look, college night, we already have a DJ in there, but I'm going to give you a Wednesday. And if you can pack it out, I will give you college night and move that DJ to Wednesday. And I was like, okay. So I went out and obsessed as a promoter. I put out flyers on cars. I mean, I worked every day for like 4 or 5 hours putting out the promotion. And that Wednesday night, it was slam packed. So at the same time of advancing as a DJ into a nightclub, I turned into a promoter that same day. So from there, you know, I advanced as a promoter, advanced as a DJ, and just, you know, kept at it. I mean, I was in college at the time, so it was easy to network with, you know, college kids. So I started off as a college DJ, but then I was also intrigued on rap music. You know, I was always into hip hop music. And as soon as I connected with a few local artists, Astray, you know, I was his DJ for 6 years, connected with First Degree, one of the biggest groups to ever come out of mid-Michigan. Probably the biggest, I would say. Connected with them, you know, connected with a lot of the local artists. And there was no other versions of me. There was no other DJs that were supporting me. I mean, you had, you know, like a few DJs like on the radio, DJ Fresh. But there wasn't a whole lot of like street DJs, mixtape DJs, people that were making things happen, you know, outside of the radio networks. So I became that guy. I even connected with Detroit. It's, you know, I was a part of, there was something called the Promoter magazine back then. It was distributed out of Detroit. I brought that up to Saginaw and Flint. So it was all about networking. Networking was always the key, no matter what I was doing, whether it was DJing or promoting or, you know, networking was always the tool to be used to move to the next level. So after DJing for so many years, you know, I just, a lot of artists, they come and go. The one thing about being an artist is, you know, it's either in your veins or it's something that's in your head. You know, it's something that you just want to do and say you did it. And the list goes on and on and on of those artists that came in, did their thing, put out a CD or put out a song, put out an album, and then, you know, they moved on. They grew out of it, or just the people that have stuck around, you know, for years, music is in their veins. Like, they're not getting away from it. It's part of who they are. It's connected to them in some sort of way where it's became their fix, their balance, their release. You know, and that's something that music has always done for me. And even as an artist, you know, I don't think I'll ever stop being an artist. I don't care. Age to me doesn't exist when it comes to artistry. Because if you think about it, as a songwriter, you're only going to get better because of experience, life experience. What does an 18-year-old know about life? Not a damn thing. So anything that they're writing, for the most part, is basically novelty. You know, it's what are me and my generation into? What words are we saying? You know, what phrases are hot right now? What's the lingo? You know, what kind of beats are people listening to? Other than that, what can you really say about life when you're 18 years old? So all these people that are like, oh, you're too old to be doing this, and I can't believe you're still doing this. Give it up. Put the mic down. It's like, dude, it's just a bunch of haters who are stuck at 9-to-5 jobs. You know, living a robotic life. When I'm the same age and I'm still doing what I was doing in my 20s and loving it and making money. You know, so the whole age thing, it's like people are stupid when they say that. You know, that's how small-minded these people are. Because again, the more you think about it, the older you get, the more you know, the better you are as a songwriter.
Yeah, and you're
But
doing
yeah,
what you
man.
love too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a passion. It's
Right.
if you're a golfer and you were golfing when you're 18, you're still golfing, when you're 70. This is the same thing. I tell people this, because I came up as a DJ, then a solo rapper, and then I got into a band.
Mm-hmm.
And we developed a band a decade ago. Well, it was 2014, 11 years ago. And the one thing that I realized about creating a band is it's number one, it's the hardest thing to do because you have 4 to 5 other people that we all have to mesh and we all have to agree on one thing. We all have to agree enough
Mm-hmm.
to get on stage for 45 minutes and rock out together. But the one thing that I realized in the original music world is, this is not something you're not motivated by money. If we lose a band member and we have to replace them, that's the first thing I ask this new band member. I don't care how good they are. What is your motive? What are you here
Mm-hmm.
for? What do you? Because I don't play instruments, so I don't know what motivates an instrumentalist to join a band. But if it's about money, then they're the wrong person. I don't care how good they are, because
Right.
when you make original music, you're not. This isn't music that people know. So this is you're promoting an original product from the ground up. Cover bands, you're basically human jukeboxes in a sense. Whether it's a rendition, whether it's your own version of it, yes, not
Mm-hmm.
discrediting any kind of cover band singer or player, but when you're making original music, this is your creation. No one's heard this before, so that's what people have to love. And I say it like this, like if me and 4 friends are gonna go, snow skiing, we're gonna book a room, a lodge or whatever. We're gonna go get our skis tightened up or whatever you do at the ski sand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you're going to plan this trip. You're going to spend the money on gas. It's no different than that. Being in a band, it's like, look, this is another ski trip. So you're either in or you're out. Like, we're not getting paid to do it. We're actually paying. We have costs involved to get on
Mm-hmm.
stage because that's our high. That's the high that we're chasing. That 45 minutes to an hour on that stage is the reason why we drive and rent a room and carry all the equipment in and set up for the show. I mean, all the preparation process. We do it all for that time frame, for that 45 minutes. And there, you,
Mm-hmm.
you can't experience anything like that. It's like in high school, if you ran the ball down the football field, that feeling you had where everything went blank and you're just running, and then the feeling you get when you hit the goal line or score whatever sport,
Mm-hmm.
that's the only thing that I've ever felt like being on that stage. But
It's like
being on the stage is your own creation. Like it's there's more creative juices flowing when you're on the stage.
right. It's like your own rendition of you. Like it's it's you turned up to 1,000 pretty much when you're on stage.
Yeah, I mean
And
as a rapper, because I'm writing my music. No one else is writing my music. I'm writing my own music. So this is who I am. Like
uh-huh.
and when it comes to artists, like you could be the greatest rapper in the world. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be your fan. Like I may respect you because you have talent, but you might be born with that talent. Like some
Mm-hmm.
people they're phenomenal writers. Some people have writer's block to the fullest. To me, it's about how well is the true you connected to your music. Like, are you who you say you are? Because anybody, especially these days, you got YouTube, you got all these places where people can emulate artists. Like, if I'm decide today I want to be a rapper, who am I going to rap like?
Right.
So to me, I don't care if you're a good rapper. That don't mean that's only a percentage of me being a fan. I want to know who you are as a person. I want to know who you are as a character. Are you who you really say you are? Are you who are you in your, and I'm not saying everybody thinks like that, but that's how I got into music. How I
Mm-hmm.
became an artist, I didn't decide one day that I wanted to be a rapper. Like I needed a place because I was going through some really super bad experiences in life, and I needed a place to outlet. I needed to talk to somebody, and I was always a writer, but I just never made music. So when I connected those two, it made sense. It became my outlet. So, and a lot of other rappers, they wanted to be a rapper. Like they were obsessed with being a rapper, and I've never experienced that. To me, I pulled out the music that was the realest to me. I pulled out writings that were actual real life experiences. So that's the connection where I really made with being an artist, being exactly who I was in real life. And so, with that being said, all the artists that I connect to, that's exactly what they are. Who they are on the record is who they are in person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I give respect.
Right. Yep. I always go back when people say about like how rappers like put on like a show. Like I always go back to Tupac, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, I love Tupac. I grew up on him. He's a lyrical genius. But you got to understand that Tupac wasn't Tupac until he played Bishop on Juice. And then once he played Bishop on Juice, he never left that character.
Right.
Like that's who he became like in the hip hop world.
And don't get me wrong, like I'll give anybody respect for if you can create a fan base, you're doing something, I listened to ICP as a kid, real gimmicky, but those dudes, they've been around the world for 25 years,
right,
or longer. So it's not like they're not living a crazy lifestyle. Are they killing people? No. But
right.
there's a line between gimmicky music and real life music. But look at the Dayton family. They kind of blew up in the whole Juggalo market at a certain point. But everything they're saying on the record was real life. Like that was Dayton Ave. That was Flint, Michigan. Like that.
Yep.
Everything they were spitting was going on in the early 90s. So artists like that, Royce the 5'9", a lot of the Detroit artists, that were spitting in the 90s. So, and I always refer to the 90s because life was way crazier than it is now. Way crazier.
Yes.
And what people don't realize is how I know that is because it's in numbers. Go look at the crime rates, go look at the murder rates, go look at any kind of number. And the only reason it seems like it's worse now is because we're all connected with technology. And when somebody farts sideways, everybody knows about it the next day. So, when something happens, it's just everybody knows that all at one time versus back in the 90s, you had to read about it in the newspaper or hear it on a record. I mean, some incidents, you didn't even know what happened until you heard it in the music. Like, that's crazy.
Right. It's true. Yeah, like back in the 90s, we didn't know who were pedophiles or not, like in your neighborhood. Like, we had, like I lived in the same spot for 17 years, and there was a pedophile living not even a mile away from me, and we didn't know it. It was the 90s. We didn't know it. But nowadays, they're just like, oh, geez, so watch out for that guy. And now you got to go door to door and all that.
And it's the same with just crime in general, murders. I mean, look at all, watch all these, forensic files and whatnot, and they couldn't solve a murder. They couldn't. People got away with so much crime. But obviously with technology, it's like if you got a little fiber on you now, they can detect it. So technology is a double-sided sword, man. I'm not the biggest fan of where it's taken society because I'm a 90s kid. So I get home from school, I'm going outside, I'm running around the fields playing sports. Like we didn't have no phones in our hand. Not to say that I would be the same kid these kids are now if I had a phone in my hand.
Right.
But it was like when I graduated high school, Wikipedia was the only thing that was hot online. Like that was it. You had AOL Messenger, Wikipedia, Yahoo Messenger.
Yep.
So I'm grateful that I got to experience that kind of childhood where, it was real. Like it was outside every day. You were never stuck on any kind of devices.
Yeah, we weren't allowed. Like on my last episode, we were talking about this. Like we weren't allowed inside. Like when we got home from school, you dropped your bags off. If you had homework, you did it, and then when you were done, you got your ass outside and you stayed out
Yeah.
there until it got dark.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. And
Yeah, but we didn't want it. We didn't want to be inside though. Like
no, we were wandering the woods.
You had to actually be face to face to communicate with people too.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like I get it. I don't try to down anybody. Because again, if they'd have put a phone in my hand when I was 10 years old, I would have been on that thing like no other two.
Right, exactly.
Just a different world. I mean, in our parents and grandfather, they talk about having 5 channels on a TV. I mean, it's the same concept. It's just it's evolution.
Yep. I was the antenna. That was I was raised by my grandparents, so we had like the analog TV where you had to switch it. Yeah. So if the channel wouldn't come in, my grandfather used to say, "Hey Dan, grab that antenna." So I grabbed the end of the antenna, and then the channel would come in, and I'd have to sit here for a good half hour until this episode was over and hold this antenna. So
we do that now with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Wi-Fi is like that now.
These kids their hearts skip a beat when the Wi-Fi goes out.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Even my 8-year-old's like, Dad, Wi-Fi's out. I was like, oh, damn it. So I got to reset it.
Yeah, it's like life pauses. Life pauses when the power goes out.
Yep. I always try and get my kid outside. I'm like, go outside and go play with other kids. And then you look outside and there's no other kids. Right. And it's like, man. Like
the internet's a drug, though. The social media is a drug because that's the window to life. Like the window to life is not outside the door anymore. The window to life. There's too much competition. You got too much going on the phone. Too many platforms. Too many. You know what people are doing all day, every day, as long as they share it.
Yep. TikTok and people are big TikTok videos. How many influencers you got? How many followers you got? That's the new thing. It's not how many friends you have anymore. It's how many followers you got. Yeah,
it's a competition. It's but I don't know. You got to find a balance. I mean, I have 4 daughters, so as a parent, it's all up to the parents. The parents really got to find a balance on what their kids are doing. Just it's more of a privilege to have a phone and to be to have access to all the information. That's a privilege. Right. So as long as you treat it as a privilege and not something they have to have just because all the other kids have it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But who am I? I work for Girls Gone Wild, so.
But yeah. Let's get into that real quick. We're gonna get into a video here shortly, but let's get into the whole Girls Gone Wild thing real quick because I had a comedian on by the name of Dustin Cole. He was on about a month ago, and he was doing this event for Girls Gone Wild, and it was at like a bar owner in like a podunk area decided that he's gonna hire Girls Gone Wild to come to his bar, and then and have a killer night, just make a whole bunch of money. But it turns out that he hired Dustin to host, and he hired Dustin to host the show. And as soon as like it was about ready to start, the van pulls up and everything. People come out with cameras and all that, but there's no girls. Like the owner didn't realize that the girls don't come with the van. You have to get the girls or the bus. Like the owner didn't realize that, and Dustin was on stage like. And everybody presenting Girls Gone Wild, and all these lights came up, and the smoke screen came up, and then nothing else happened. It was just a bunch of lights, a bunch of music, and a bunch of smoke, and no girls, and a bunch of dudes like sitting there like we paid a cover charge to see nothing. Yeah,
and okay, so I had a song called Go Wild. I was in Flint. I DJ'd in Flint for 12 years at a place called Shamrocks. It was also called Bugsy's for a generation before me. And then it was also a teen nightclub called Sub-Zero. It was in Genesee. Anyway, we got Thursdays popping. It was like the hottest club in the state at that time. We were pulling from Pontiac. We pulled from all those Tiki Bobs and all those clubs down there, Tonic, Clutch Cargo. So anyway, I had a song called Go Wild. We did something called the Thong Contest. So you had all these girls that would come up and it basically be like a shake your ass contest, but I called it the thong contest. They all had a thong, they'd show their thong or whatever. Girls would flash here and there, whatever. Well, I had a song that I played every time, and we did like a bracket. We did rounds. There had to be a champ every night, and they win cash. So this song ended up blowing up in the club. People would come up and request it, but I never told anybody it was me. I didn't want people to like hate on it because it was my song.
Right.
I just wanted it to be a natural thing, like if people like it, they like it. Well, then it became something that the radio started playing. So I was like, man, I'm going to take this to the next level. I'm either going to get Steve-O from Jackass in the video, or what's the next wildest thing? And Girls Gone Wild popped in my head. So I go online and I find the site and I hit them up and I'm like, how can we work together? And they're like, well, why don't you just bring the bus to a venue? And I'm thinking, well, I'm a promoter. That makes sense. So I booked the bus. I knew that it didn't come with girls, but this bus shows up at noon, and this happened to be downtown Saginaw. They pull up on Hamilton Street, and all of a sudden it causes this frenzy. Like people are stopping, taking pictures by it. All of a sudden a news article pops up, like Girls Gone Wild is here. Nobody knows what's about to go down. Now I knew that they didn't have girls, so I had girls lined up. The problem was they didn't show up until just the nick of time. I mean, this place sold out. I mean, I think we were sold out by like 10 o'clock. We opened the doors at like 9. So an hour and this place is packed, sold out to the max, a line down the street, and there's no girls. It's all dudes. All of a sudden, 6 girls show up, and these are the girls that I had planned for them to be there. And it turned in, everybody went crazy, and these girls did their thing. And I didn't know what to expect. I was just, and the whole reason I wanted them there is because I was trying to connect my music with them. Mm-hmm. So, it sells out. Everybody has a blast, no complaints. They thought these girls were on the bus. They came in with Girls Gone Wild shirts on. We set it all up that way. And it turned out real well. I made a lot of money. I did what I was there to do. I entertained the crowd. I performed. We shot some videos. And Girls Gone Wild was like, "Yo, I'm gonna get you some spins." The manager from Girls Gone Wild was like, "Your music is definitely our brand." So they took the music, and then me and the company, they were like, "Yo, you packed it out. Like, let's keep doing this." So I ended up booking the bus, all over the place. I took it to all different cracks and crevices of the state, even outside of the state. I took them all the way down to Florida. So nice. I booked anywhere I possibly could as a promoter.
Right.
As a DJ, I would DJ a lot of these events, but as a songwriter, they had my whole entire catalog. And a year later, I get a check in the mail, and I just look at the check and I'm like, man, this is some publishing clearinghouse bullshit. Like the figures that it said on there, I was like, there ain't no way this is my money. Like I threw it to the side on the table, came back like a couple hours later, started opening up my mail, like, what am I throwing out? And I look at this and I open it, and I started seeing names of my songs. It was a royalty check, a BMI royalty check. Uh-huh. And the list in pages, 4 or 5 pages, MTV, Comedy Central, Game Show Network, all these networks and all these figures. And then I realized, like, this is really my money. This is a real figure. Uh-huh. So right away I run to the bank, cash it, deposit, whatever. And that's when I realized, like, okay, that's when I learned the royalty bit. When you're getting 6 figures residual, like this money, you just make the music and the money just comes flowing in, and you just sit back and watch. Because I was making music for these Girls Gone Wild commercials, and these commercials were spinning from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. every single day on 30 different networks. So the money was just doing this, and I'm just sitting back collecting money. So so overall, everybody thought that I was like running around, like a pimp with Girls Gone Wild, when they didn't realize the real deal was the music in the background. That's where I was making money, and that's where I was focused, because I had full custody of 2 of my daughters at the time. So I'm a full-time father, Monday through Thursday, and then I'm popping out with Girls Gone Wild on the weekend. But I'm all about money. I'm not partying. Like at the end of the night, I'm counting money while the party moves from the club to wherever the after party is. I'm never involved in any of that activity. But it's easy
Right.
for people to go, man, that dude is flying around partying, like living it up, like rock star lifestyle. When I was so focused on the money, I didn't even experience any of the rock star shit. I didn't want to. I had no interest. I was all about the
Right.
money.
Right, yeah. Like everyone's going up to the after party and you're just in your hotel room going ting ting ching ching ching
Not,
ching
bro. I wasn't
ching.
even at the hotel yet. I was in the back. I was back with the owner or the manager counting money because
Oh no shit.
a lot of these shows, I was bringing the show, so I'm counting the door money. I'm getting a percentage of the till. I'm doing business with Girls Going Wild. I got to pay them or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of other stuff going on. Girls were going on the bus and doing their thing with the brand, but I had nothing to do. I wasn't a part of the brand. I was working with the brand. I was
Right.
the guy that was making, the event pop off and providing entertainment. Shout out to Jason Jewell, illusionist. You should actually have him on a podcast. I manage him. He was part of every show I did. I had the B-boys from Flint, breakdancers, so it was like
Mm-hmm.
a bar circus almost. Like, so I focused on entertaining people at the actual show itself, at the same time branding my music, and making sure everybody had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Girls Going Wild, they were doing their thing, which everybody knows what they do.
Right.
So it was two businesses working together for the most part. But
Mm-hmm.
it was a good thing for me because I had people from prison getting out of prison like, yo man, I was listening to your music. I was telling everybody that I knew you. They didn't believe me. So I was like, they were like, man, you're on this rock star shit, So musically, I went nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
Songs were being played nationally. I was part of a national brand. So
That's oh
I
sorry, go
lived
ahead.
off that. I kind of fed off that, and then that's when I was like, I have a brand here. The business part of being an artist is right here in front of me in my lap. So that's when I
Mm-hmm.
started writing music on my own.
Yeah, that's actually like genius, like just to promote your brand that way. Like obviously you were a promoter beforehand, so you already knew like how to throw like a kick ass party and get all this attention on it, and then you just threw your music behind it. So this kick ass party is promoting this guy's music, and everyone's hearing it. So it's like a genius plan to make a little bit of money and promote your music and get seen at the same
Yeah,
time.
it was definitely. I was motivated by money. I was motivated by being independent. I didn't have a label controlling what I was doing. I was making the money, and I was making 100% of the money.
Uh huh.
So independently, I felt the freedom that an independent artist feels. And honestly, from that point, I never wanted to be signed ever. I've turned deals down. I've been in New York several times, 30
Mm-hmm.
stories high, and walking out. And I was even a part of a group called INC where the deal was sitting on the table. We had investors with us. We walk in and nobody could tell me where the money was going. Like, okay, my investors are going to put this down. Y'all are going to match it. The label or whoever is going to match it.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody could tell me where the money was going. Like, what are we spending this money on? I want a detailed script,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't provide that. And I was like, this is just a loan. I got to pay these investors. An investment is something you have to pay back for the
Right.
most part. There's got to be some type of return, but I need documentation to know where this money's going, and they couldn't provide it. So again, going back to the record label conversation, record labels are almost designed. There's a lot of, I call them record label sharks. There's in between the middlemen, the guy that hooked up this meeting, with Atlantic. We walk in and right off the top, he's probably getting, 15% of the final number.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting a cut, and I already know that. But how much are you getting?
Right.
Where you have to make this make sense to me financially, not just throwing a chain on me and giving me an advance and throwing me in a nice car. Like, I don't care about none of that. I want to know. This is all about longevity to me.
Mm-hmm.
So again, being an independent artist, which is the gift of living in today's age in the music business, is you can become an independent artist right from your laptop. Because when you sign deals, you're in the moment. You're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about all the great things. You're thinking about the money and the car and the jewelry and the girls and the fame, and there's so much of that overpowering the reality, because the reality is now you're a slave.
Mm-hmm.
Now you are an employee of them. And because all that other shit, all that novelty shit, that goes out the door when it comes about an everyday life and your lifestyle and your well-being, which you need money to be healthy. You got to buy healthy food. Healthy food, obviously everybody knows it's the most expensive food.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So, I see how when you're in your early 20s and your teens, you can get taken advantage of. And then parents are just sitting back like, little Jimmy's going to be, they're living through him. Like, they're like,
Right.
he's going to be famous, and that's going to make me famous. I'm his parent. So
Right.
even as parents, man, back in the day, they just let their kids just, they, if they
Sign your
could
life
become,
away.
yeah, sign their life away, become famous.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, I think it was like it was Hobson I was listening to, and
Yeah.
he has a track, and he was talking about how Jerry Heller, like, he was still like in business with Ruthless Records, and he's just like, you're our promoter, you're our accountant, uh, you're my manager, and he's like, something's fishy, like something's going on here, And
Yeah.
it just amazed me. Like I didn't know Ruthless was even a thing still until actually I heard his music, and I was like, they were still ripping off artists even long after NWA, with the whole thing with NWA. And I was like, holy crap! I'm like, these guys have been in business screwing artists like left and right for a good 20 years now.
Yeah, they're no different from the
And this,
medical field. They're no different from any other. I mean, corporations are designed to profit.
mm-hmm,
If there's no profit, I mean, I get it. You have to stay in business. And if people are willing to do it for 1%, 2%, 5%, whatever that small percentage is, they're, I mean, these are business people. Their whole objective is profit. So
right,
if people will do it, of course it's going to become a thing. Of course it's going to become a corporation. And that's what's changing over like the past decade is corporations are starting to die out. There's more independence coming around because they're getting smarter, and there's
mm-hmm,
more tools for business people. There's more tools for musicians. There's the internet. You got all these social media platforms. Spotify's the new radio station. Apple
yep,
Music's the new radio station.
yep,
So it's interesting because as a musician, you have to evolve. If I started off making a flyer, posting on telephone poles and doing shows, trying to get the radio to even say my name, let alone play my song, I'm coming from that all the way to what it is now.
mm-hmm,
And as an artist, you have to evolve. You have to learn all these things. You have to learn the platforms. You have to learn the algorithms. So artists, most artists, they just want to create music. And every hit song, there's a business behind it. It
mm-hmm,
didn't just happen. Like there's a business person or team that put them in the right place at the right time to broadcast that song or even create that song.
mm-hmm,
So artists really need to understand. I don't care if you're 17 or you're 50. You have to have business. There's got to be some business machine behind you, and it can
mm-hmm.
be your own. But it's like that's why I said music has to be an artist. It has to be in your veins because this is something you have to do every day, and it could be a hobby.
Yep.
But when you start making money, now it becomes your business. Now you can really put more and more time into it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's like you said, it's once you create something, it's your baby. Like you treat it like that. It's
Oh yeah,
something you love. If you don't love it, then why are you doing it? You know, like if you don't love to podcast or make music, if you don't like to make music, then go get
yeah,
a 9 to 5
yeah.
and be one of those
I've never
people
worked.
that,
I worked a 9 to 5 in college, and I think I worked like 3 jobs,
yeah,
9 to 5. I've never worked a 9 to 5 past, you know, 21, or I think it was maybe. 18, 19, 20, 21, maybe 3-4 years. I worked a couple 9-to-5s, and they were never 9-to-5s. They were like nightlife, whether I was a server at a restaurant or so 9-to-5. I've never really worked a 9-to-5. And then I got custody of my kids, my 2 daughters in 05. So I was like 25.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I just learned to be a weekend warrior and make as much money as I can on Friday and Saturday. I've worked my entire life on Friday and Saturday. So yeah, and that's the one thing though. I don't ever promote that because I don't want somebody that works 9-to-5 to be like their life isn't complete because they need to graduate from working 9-to-5 to just working 2 days a week. Like that worked for me, and that works for me now. So I don't really promote like fuck a 9-to-5. You know what I mean? I think I said that in a song before, but this is just me. This is for me. Fuck a 9-to-5 in my world. I'll never work a 9-to-5 ever again. But in reality, I work all day, every day. So I'm not showing up and clocking in for nobody ever again. I mean, but you know, you got to work to. You have to be awarded that position. That's a privilege. You got to work to that level to be able to not have to clock in for somebody else. So, but you know, some people like 9-to-5. They like that everyday thing. Wake up, go to work every day. You know, some people need it. It's their separation. It's their balance. So, get in where you fit in.
Yep. Not me. I'm aiming to get out of my 9-to-5. Fuck all that. Like I do this all day. I do my podcast pretty much all day, every day, and I do my 9-to-5 as like a side gig. That's pretty much my side gig is my 9-to-5. So
yeah.
Yep. But yeah, let's get into. Oh, go ahead.
And I'm all about residual. If you can, you know, I think everybody has 2 or 3 jobs these days. That's just the way it is. But I like the residual income. I like money that's coming in, that I know it's coming in. The royalty checks are phenomenal. The you know, monetize best thing you can do as an artist. Find a way. They're called music supervisors. They're the people that place music in movies, television shows. Find music supervisors and get your music to them. It's that simple. So, but again, 95% of, I'd say 98% of artists in Michigan even know what a music supervisor is. So, you know, residual income is king. You know, you can't. But what were you going to say? Get into what?
We're just gonna get into this villain video real quick.
Oh yeah. So there's not we never shot a video yet.
I made it a video, but
Mercules is on. Mercules is going to be doing a U.S. tour, and we're going to connect then and shoot a video. But one thing I noticed about videos though is, you know, music videos are kind of like going out the door. It's all about reels, you know, a minute reel. So you put all this work into this music video and throw it on YouTube. Unless you're a major artist, it's kind of a waste of time. You know, it's like I just shot my first real video.
Right.
So my first video that is a full reel. So, you know, it's a 3-minute reel, which you can't. I guess it's not a reel. It's more like a video because reels are only like a minute 30 seconds or whatever.
Right.
But I shot, you know, the vertical form video for Jet. And I just released that this morning at 8 a.m. So
nice.
That's I'm kind of ahead of the game a little bit. I think eventually reels will become longer, but there's such a short attention span. It's like people are only like swiping away, you know.
Yeah.
Or up now, TikTok.
Yeah, or up now. Yeah, it was just swipe left. Now it's up. I get confused sometimes. I get it.
Yeah, there's so much competition now, but everything is visualization now. So it's video. With the shortest attention span, nobody wants to sit and watch a 4-minute video.
That's true. Like I've noticed that with like all the music nowadays. Like back in the 90s, like a track was 5-6 minutes long, and nowadays you'll be lucky to get one that's like 3.
Well, Villain is. And me and Felix went back and forth with it because I wrote 2 verses to Villain, and then I got Merc on the track, and I was like, man, I ain't giving up either one of these verses. Like, so we're just gonna do we're gonna do a 5-minute song. It is what it is. And I didn't care. I didn't. People were telling me like, well, you know, because I got a team of people that I talk to, you know, in the industry, and they're like, well, you know, anything over 5, you know, the algorithm might do this or do that, and I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care about the algorithm. I don't even care if I make a ton of money off it. Like, this song, I wrote it, and it is what it is. And if I'm adding somebody, then we're just gonna extend it. Like, that's the gift of making your own music and being independent. There's no rules. You don't even have to have a chorus if you don't want one. So,
right.
So yeah, what happened is I just put him on the second, and then I, you know, killed it on the third verse. But he definitely helped out. Like, he ripped it. It took him a minute, and he was like, man, he said my team really didn't want me to give up this verse. After he wrote it, he like wanted to keep it for himself. Mm-hmm. So I think he did his thing on it, though.
Right. Like, that must be hard. Like, as an artist, you're just like, and you're trying to do a feature on somebody else's track, and you write just this killer verse, and you're just like,
well, because that's when you bring it. That's when your competitiveness comes to it. Because it's like, man, I'm gonna knock him off the track. But the thing is, with his verse, I wrote one verse a year ago, and that's when the song like became a song, and I was like, one day I'm gonna finish that song, you know, because I got songs for days. I feel like doing it here one day, next day I'm on something else. Right. So that song, I wrote the second verse way before I put him on the song, like a couple weeks before I put him on the song. And so, but I think when I sent it to him, I can't remember if I think I did send him a version of my first verse, but I didn't show him my second verse. Yeah. So some artists, when you do features, like, you just send them the beat. They don't even know, you know, unless they ask for it, you just don't send it to them. So they don't even know what you're spitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it, guys. It's that time. It's the time of the show. Turn your volumes up and chill out to some music. Here we go. It's Chris Redburn and Merculus with Villain. Enjoy, guys.
Thought I was a good guy, but if you ask a million folks who think they know me, bet they'll tell you I'm a villain. Gossiping like children, even some of my real friends got me thinking sinister, staring up at the ceiling. Okay, you think that I'm a monster, be careful what you conjure, don't come to my next concert. Okay, you think that I'm a monster, be careful what you conjure, don't come to my next concert. Okay, I am the villain, you are the victim. I am the enemy coming to kill him. I am the one that makes everyone listen, the center of attention. I'm higher than ceiling, I'm up in the air like a flight on a mission. Been switching positions to fuck your opinions. I'm slapping the faces off anyone tripping. These bitches all jealous, all up in their feelings. Been gripping the mitten since you was a kitten. I give you permission to sit back and listen, dear. Anyone trying to ruin my image ain't saying no names, cause you are not privileged. They jealous, I'm jumping the hole and they fell in. These hoes are just hating the name that I'm yelling. They publicly lie to build up the hype, but nobody listening, no credibility. I've been to war, I've been on tours, I've been divorced and enforced in them courts. I've been so broke that I slept on them floors. My life is a struggle, I've kicked open doors. So bring on the drama, I've been here before. Gun to my head and a knife to my throat. I am not scared, I will battle you all. Out for justice, call me Steven Seagal. I'm from a city, we struggle to win. I will not miss when I aim for your chin. You start to choking, I'm breaking your skin. Shaking and trembling, breaking you in. I am the alpha, you know how this ends. I will not be disrespected again. Eye for an eye when I need to be the guy. Feeling for the killing cause I'm coming for your goodbye. Thought I was a good guy, but if you ask a million folks who think they know me, bet they'll tell you I'm a villain. Gossiping like children, even some of my real friends got me thinking sinister, staring up at the ceiling. Okay, you think that I'm a monster, be careful what you conjure, don't come to my next concert. Okay, you think that I'm a monster, be careful what you conjure, don't come to my next concert. Okay, Redburn, what up? All these people that I thought I could trust, awkward as fuck, lit from the vodka, drunk, caught in the rut, hot box, all windows up. I don't know if I should listen to my heart or my gut. Swear to God that this faith is a prison. I remain independent, not a slave to the business. Never change, I'm the realest, but he made me a killing. Anxious, am I get putting on my pain and my lyrics? You can pay me the villain, I'm on honor all of that. With success, that's just a flex. I won't ever rap for the net. If you fishing for compliments, you get wrapped in a net, stabbed in the neck. I don't know no rappers, respect, nah. Most of them are looking like my hype man. I do in a day what they've been dreaming for a lifespan. It's me and Redburn making all these heads turn, rolling weed, sentences in my hands.
was like Edward. My name got the same amount of letters as the F word, so fuck you for ever thinking you could try to test work. I remember when I'd hate myself, but when I walk into the spot, now my name ring bells. When I was young, I used to write to help my brain excel, like fuck school. I remember how that place was hell. I ain't never going back, but my efforts in the rap, now I'm running out of room for me to hang up all these plaques as murk. And I ain't going back to where I was. I swear to God, this rap shit is a drug. Now fuck them all, don't have to show you love. Now watch me pull the skeletons of rappers out this mud.
Thought I was a good guy, but if you ask a million folks who think they know me, bet they'll tell you I'm a villain. Gossiping like children, even some of my real friends got me thinking sinister, staring up at the ceiling. Okay, you think that I'm a monster, be careful what you conjure, don't come to my next concert. Okay, you think that I'm a monster, be careful what you conjure, don't come to my next concert. Okay, I am the villain, you are the victim. Hannibal Lecter, I silence your feelings. I am the one that will bring you the vengeance. I'll spit on your grave, fish hook in your eyelids. I am the wolf in this world of these sheeple. You are a spoof, I can see through the people. Birds of a feather together like seagulls. I am original, you are a sequel. You twist the truth, I tell it straight. You hate to lose, I am first place. You rather fit in with millions of minions who opinion opinions, bandwagon the hate. I am Heisenberg, a cook in the booth. Your eyes on high, alert a crook on the loose. I go berserk when I work in the lab, when I'm mixing up syllables, cooking up views. I am a mastermind, you a clone. I am an astronaut, you a drone. You are a puppet, a muppet reborn. You walk like you sound like you Kermit the Frog. You a pencil, number two face. Me a Sharpie, you draw your race. You a stencil, cause you like to trace all these moves that you making up perfectly fake. Back in all black with a mic in a bag, cracking up laughing cause everyone's mad. They hiding facts from the past, me to match, and I'll burn up the past with this gas and this rag. I am the alpha, you know how this ends. I will not be disrespected again. Eye for an eye when I need to be the guy. Been there for the killing cause I'm coming for you, goodbye.
That was great.
Hell yeah.
I just like how it just ends. I'm just like, goodbye. And it's over.
Yeah, well, because again, we didn't want to put another hook on it because it was already long as it was.
Right.
But as I'm saying goodbye, it was fitting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great track, though. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that track was, it was pretty much, like when you're in the public eye, which I've been most of my life,
mm-hmm.
everybody wants to perceive you like, it's like you have to be perfect. Everybody's judging every move you make, everything you do in life. If you're a public figure, it surfaces to the public. It's just what it is. If you're John Doe and something happens in your life, like nobody cares. But if you're in the public eye, now everybody wants to have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So like at times we have to become aggressive. We have to stick up for ourselves as people because I'm human. I have emotions, I have feelings just like everyone else. So, and I'm not perfect. I mean, that if you listen to my music, you realize I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So we make mistakes. There's misunderstandings, but there comes a time where it's like, okay, I've had enough. Like I've had enough of people's opinions. So now I'm going to become a villain. You want to be the hero and be the opinionated person that's going to bring the truth to the surface. Well, now I'm going to be a villain. So it was kind of like my version of answering to the public of, any type of, public scrutiny that I've had in the past decade or whatever, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't like to just, I'm not the type of dude to get on Facebook and just start defending myself on every opinion. So, I speak through music. So this is kind of like one of those songs that did exactly that.
Right.
But there's good, it's not like I'm this bully because I don't like bullies. I hate bullies. I used to beat up bullies.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly not the message that I'm putting out. It's more or less like, look, good guys sometimes have to do bad things. If you're, even if you're religious, go into the Bible and hear and read the stories where, good people had to do bad things. We go and fight wars in other countries. We have to do bad things. Does that make us a bad person? No.
Right.
So that's pretty much the message that I try to put out in that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very well too, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great tracks and everything. So who inspires you? Like, who inspired you to get into music? Like, who did you listen to as a kid?
Oh, I listened to Biz Markie, NWA, Bone Thugs and Harmony. I can literally remember sitting in my room and I would always, my brother was more of a rock head. He was 3 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime, like, because back then, you know, we used to order Columbia House CDs, you know, a BMG where you put everything in your dog's name and it just get all these free CDs that come in. And then we had Jukebox on the cable network where you could get on the phone and call and they'd charge you $250 and you could request 3 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just connected with the beats. So I was always the beat guy. Like I liked the beats of songs. I didn't even sometimes listen to what they were saying. I was more intrigued by the beats.
Okay.
So right away, hip hop took over any other genre. But, you know, the first songs that I ever fell in love with was like Bone Thugs and Harmony. When Bone Thugs and Harmony came out in 1993 or 92, whenever that was, I fell in love with it, you know. But I also connected with music that was from Michigan. So the Esham, the ICP, the underground shit. But that was kind of a couple years down the line, 93, Dayton Family in 94. But so I guess it was just my creature connected with that style of music. You know, it was just the beats, the bounces. I guess it was just my personality. But I also connected with rock music, you know, later in life. I went really heavy into rock, the Rage Against the Machines, the, you know, Limp Bizkit era. I wasn't like into heavy metal, but I was definitely into like the hip hop rock, the high energy. You know, it's hard to get pumped before a hockey game, you know, to like Cube. So,
right.
But yeah, and then obviously later in life, as soon as I heard instruments behind, I had a promoter call me from, this is in the midst of everything. I had a promoter call me from Traverse City, Doug Street, you know, a club, by far one of the best nightclubs ever to this day in the state of Michigan for live performances besides the Machine Shop. Machine Shop is king all day. But Streeters and Traverse City was right up to par with him. And Doug called me and was like, yeah, we got this band called Rehab coming through. They sing the Bartender song. And he sent me the song. And I was like, yeah, I know that song. I heard it on the radio, whatever. And I didn't know they rapped. I didn't know they were rappers at all. I was just like, because I was thinking, why does he want me to come up there? So he's like, why don't you and your drummer come up, who is the singer in my band now. And so we get on the show. They start promoting it. And I'm like, man, I'm talking with my singer. And I was like, why don't we create a band for this show? So we end up putting together a band. The moment I heard instruments behind my music, I was like, it was the most comfortable place I've ever felt in music. Like, I'm like, from that day forward, I've never done a show without a band. And that was like that was early 2014. So, and then we ended up going on a national tour. With Rehab invited us on their national tour. It was their farewell tour. So we were spoiled right from the rip as a band. First show was on a national stage, and you know, we did like however 30 shows in a month and a half or whatever it was. But so but circling back to your question, I was in love with all music, really, man. I wasn't just, I mean, I loved hip hop, but I listened to everything. I was just connected to music. And to logically answer your question, I would say I was like an audio video learner.
Okay.
No, I mean, because there's a psychological connection for everything we do. Like there's a certain reason why you're connected to certain things. And I was never somebody that could just sit and read a book. Like I couldn't comprehend. Call it ADD, call whatever you want. I don't believe in none of that shit. But I was just an audio video learner. Like if I watch the movie, I'll tell you anything and everything that happened. But if I have to read the book, I'm fucked. You know,
I'm the same way. Yep. Same exact
so I
way.
think that's why I connected to music and videos, and I was an audio video learner, so I felt more comfortable with music.
Right.
But yeah, I've been in love with music ever since.
Yeah, I'm the same way when it comes to learning. I'm like a hands-on learner. I'm like, you can tell me how to do it all day long, but you gotta show me, and then I'll do it.
Yeah, and people read
And-
books, man.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I have no interest. Like I can't be in the moment. I guess it's like an imagination thing. I don't know. I don't read books. I read a lot, but I'm not like if I'm gonna watch a non-fictional movie, I can't read the book. Like I gotta, I'm not really into a lot of. I'm into the things that are real. Anything that's real, I'm into it.
My fiance reads a lot, and she'll read like 3 books in a week. And I'm just like, how do you read 3 books in a week? I'm like, even if I wanted to read 3 books in a week, I couldn't do it in a week.
Right.
And and she's just like, I've never seen you read a book. And I was like, I don't read books.
Right.
I'm like, if it's like a news article or something, I'll read that, or if I'll pick up a magazine every once in a while. But I'm not gonna.
There has to be something in there that you're gonna get to. Like,
Yeah,
if something happens in the world, you're gonna read the article because you already know what happened. You know what I mean? It's like, if I was forced to read a book, it would probably have to be something where I already know the movie or whatever.
Right. Yeah, like
But
I already know what's going to happen.
Man. People get into it. People get into the book. Like, even people that different readers talk to each other. Like, can't believe this happened in this book. And it's like, this is crazy. It's definitely not my world.
Yeah, it's a book, but yeah, audiobooks. I do like some audiobooks though. But even then, I was like the last audiobook I listened to was the Book of Enoch. But so.
Well, I mean, it's attention span too. Like, podcasts,
Yep.
It's hard to sit and watch the whole podcast, but if you're on the road for 6 hours, pop on a 3-hour podcast and roll out.
Yep. Or if you're at work, like I do, if you're at work, throw on a podcast and it makes the day go by faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. But yeah,
it's been interesting just, starting off as a DJ, promoter, going through the motions to becoming a rapper, solo artist, then starting the band. So, and then now I'm also a manager. So I manage the world famous Tommy Two-Tone, who sings 8675309.
Yeah.
So I connected with him as a promoter and booking agent. I connected with him just doing some shows, and he was like, he came here and instead of him getting a hotel, he was like, I'll just stay with you. And I was like, well, cool. That'll save me money,
Right.
I didn't know him very well at that point. So, we got to know each other, and he kind of seen my operation on how I function. And a year later, he was like, why don't you be my publicist? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. And at the same time, he didn't have a manager. So he was trying to find a manager. And finally, he's just like, look, why don't you just be my manager?
Right.
So, it wasn't something that just happened. It would, it took a little bit of time, and we worked together on some projects, and it just seemed fitting, which is cool because there's no conflict of interest. Like, it's not like me managing a rapper. I'm managing an 80s artist who lives in a completely different world than I do. He's like a grandfather to me, and a lot of the music that he's educated on, it was 2 generations before me. So it's always interesting. Everything we do is interesting, and everything is interesting from his end also, because I know all the new ways to do things, and a lot of his peers, they're just not, they're not doing that. They're not. That's when I had the conversation earlier about being an artist and having your business together, evolving with technology. A lot of these 80s artists, they're just thriving off what's already out there, the residuals.
Right.
So they don't know how to function in today's world because there's just they didn't grow up, to technology and social media and, all these different digital platforms.
Yeah, it's a different world.
It's a good match though, me and him. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was actually talking to Astray like probably a couple months ago about getting Tommy Two Tone on the show. And I was just like,
we could line
that'd
that
be
up.
kind of dope.
Yeah, we could definitely line that up.
Yeah, that'd be dope for real. I'd be like, hell yeah.
I could get I could probably send a few artists to you. We got a bunch of shows coming up. I haven't did a show. So the last show we did was with Crazy Town.
Okay.
Who Seth Benzer actually ended up ODing last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy, man, because we were about to go on a national tour, an American tour. We had it all booked. Everything was ready to go. It was supposed to set off Devil's Night. It was going to be the first show in Michigan. And it was crazy because me and him, you know, we connected last year. I did a couple shows with him. And actually, no, that wasn't the last show I did. So I was actually at a show in Bay City, PD Pablo and Chingy and Redburn. And I'm in my RV and I get a phone call from Seth. And at this point, we're already connected. And he was actually, we had like a good 40-minute conversation, and he was talking about my music and his music, and we need to connect somehow. And he was basically asking me to join Crazy Town in his own words.
Right. Because
he was basically like, look, man, you should come on tour with me. You know, like you can do your songs and you hype me. Like basically he was asking me without asking me. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, yeah, man, we might be able to make something like that happen. Like, let's see. In my mind, I'm like, let's see if we can tour together first. Cause you have a past of drug addiction. So let's, and I've already gone through a lot with my own band in those fields. So the whole plan was to go on tour, and then, but I really connected with him, man. Cause I think, a lot of the shit that I went through in life, I made it through it without being an addict, and he just didn't.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, he starts talking about, I got to get going. I got to go get my stuff. I got to go save my storage building because I got all my billboard plaques and all this shit in there, and I'm about to lose it. And I was like, well, we're getting ready to go on a tour where I'm actually handling all the money, like $100,000 probably. So if you need a couple racks, let me know. I'll send you some money, like, whatever. Mm-hmm. It was like, man, if you could send me like $600, that'd be cool. And I sent him $600. I Venmo'd some girl that he was with. 2 days later, dead.
Wow.
Yeah, he probably got high off the money I had sent him, but I don't feel bad about anything, nothing like that. I'm just saying, it's just crazy to think that, man, I sent him money, he got high off it. And because he actually called me this was a Friday. He called me Saturday night, but I was DJing. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get to the call. I got the next morning, news, it was all over the news. I was like, I could not believe it. It's just one of the craziest things, man. Right. So long story short, the last show that I did was that PD Pablo show last summer. So circling back, we got a bunch of shows coming up. Mm-hmm. We got a show with Tantric, the rock band Tantric, Thursday, April 24th in Freeland at the Freeland Walleye Fest. And we got 2 more shows with Tantric the next weekend, the 3rd and the 4th in Lapeer and then Tawas. And then what do we got? We got Bone Thugs and Harmony in May up in Lunnington. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a show with Ying Yang Twins, Franchise Boys, and Twista in August down in Paw Paw, Michigan, which is south of Kalamazoo. Yep. And then we just booked Thursday, July 3rd with Saliva and Sponge. That's for like the Bay City Fireworks Festival. So we got a bunch of shows coming up, but I'll connect with some of these guys and see if they want to jump on a podcast with you.
Oh, that would be so sweet, dude.
But yeah, we can line up. We can line up with Tommy Two Tone one soon here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I really want to get him on there. Like I was raised by my grandparents, so a lot of like the 80s music, like my uncles and my dad and my aunts, they're more like my brothers and sisters, like the way I grew up. So I grew up a lot on the 80s music, like 8675309, which is Jenny, which is I just actually figured that out. Like the title of the song is called Jenny.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, and I grew up on
Yeah, it's
all that
crazy. It's
80s
one of the
music.
dude. It's one of the biggest songs ever made. Like, and I
Mm-hmm.
say that because you can. I remember we had him here, and we were in the Bavarian Inn in Frankenmuth because we were shooting a video in Frankenmuth, and our server was like 20 years old, and I was like, I'm gonna prove this. I said, do you know who Tommy Two Tone is? She said, no. I said, hey, do you remember the song 8675309? She's like, yeah. So I was like,
That's him.
so not everybody knows who he is, but they know the song,
Yeah, it's like the most famous phone number in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the song is, it's definitely it's definitely not a novelty. Like it's timeless. That song's been around, and that's what's cool about it. That's the kind of music I like to make. Timeless music that's gonna stay and stick, hit you in the chest. Although I guess that is kind of a novelty song, but it's just one of those, from the windows to the wall. That
Right.
song is always going to be hot.
Yep.
There's just certain songs that are just going to be timeless. They're going to last forever. Baby Got Back.
Uh-huh. Like every time I hear that windows to the wall, that skeet skeet skeet, I think of that Dave Chappelle stand up where he's like, you know what's so dope about skeet? His white people don't know what it means yet.
Right.
It's like you can't say skeet on the radio.
Right.
But yeah, that song with that's timeless too.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. But yeah, you've pretty much started from the bottom of the music industry, and you just worked your way right up, and it's amazing. Like
I've toured with Ying Yang Twins, Petey Pablo. I've met a lot of people. I just been in the right places at the right time. Russell Simmons. My whole wall is just full of these pictures, and I finally put them up like a year ago because I'm just thinking, man, some of these pictures I look at and I just forget it even happened.
Right.
And they're everywhere, man. It's like the whole wall is.
Oh wow.
And it's a lot of good times. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't put them up for other people because this isn't a public studio. Right. I put them up for me, because this is my workplace. So I just like to look at them like, man, look where I came. Look where I was and look where I came. So it's kind of like just looking back at the road almost.
Right. Yeah. You're pretty much the story, the evolution of hip hop. The story. It's pretty much you started as a DJ and now you're a manager, and you've worked with all these amazing people. And the journey's still not over. Like you're still at it. Like not even close.
People ask me how long I'll do this, and I can't give a solid, legit, logical answer because I love doing it. I mean, I'll always have my foot in the music business somewhere, but I'll also always write music and make music. And that's the gift about being independent is, you're doing your own distribution. So, I mean, you could go on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, whatever. You're finding old people rapping. You're finding old people making music. Gray heads making music. Everlast is getting ready to come out with an album. So people are in their 50s and 60s still making music. You don't have to just be this legendary, AC/DC to go out and tour when you're 60. Like I know Jared from Head PE is pushing. He's got to be 56, 57.
Right.
And this dude is in great shape. Similar style music as me. I mean, he's out there getting people moshing.
Right.
It's like if you take care of yourself, and he's making money. He's touring nonstop. He lives on the road. So, there is no boundary when it comes. There's no rules. You got to take everything that's happened in the past and throw that out the door. But this is a whole new world.
Right. Yep.
And age just doesn't matter. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Like you just see all these people, and like you don't like some of these people I think Oprah didn't win her first Oscar or something until she was 45 years old, and all these people, all these famous people that their first start was when in their 50s.
Right. Yeah.
Like it took that long to get there, and then they finally get there, and it's like it's got to be an
Well,
amazing.
I mean, just in hip hop, I mean, I know a couple off the bat because they took the same exact route I did. They toured with Rehab, Yellow Wolf, and Ritz. They both toured with Rehab, and that's why I was so excited. Once I learned the history of Rehab, I learned like, man, this is Ritz toured with these cats. Right. Yellow Wolf started with these cats, and they're both pushing my age. So I was like, you know, this is the route, you know. But they were independent forever, you know, and then just one day it happens. But I mean, I've made enough money in the industry where I feel like I've completed my existence as far as financially. Like, I don't have to make a lot of money anymore. Like, I'm comfortable where I'm at. As long as I can I have my own studio. I don't need anybody for anything. I do my own videos, edits, graphics. Like, I do it all. So, when you get to that point where you don't need anybody, that's where freedom lives.
Yep. And we're all striving to get there too. Yeah, it's like started from the bottom. Now we're here. It's literally you.
Exactly.
It's literally you.
But I mean, it took a long time. It's some people, you know, they could travel my path, you know, in 3 years, and some do. It's just for me, I had a lot of roadblocks. You know, I was supposed to move to LA a long time ago and couldn't because I had full cut, you know. But one thing I always tell people is fatherhood is always going to be. My health is number one. My health is number one. Number two is fatherhood, and number 3 is music. Used to live number one, and I have to admit that because it was like an addiction. But it'll never be number one ever again. You know, I stopped that when I went through all the brain issues and health conditions.
Right.
That's when I realized, like, music came number one. And I don't think anybody should make music number one. Any artist. You know, your health is everything, because when you don't have health, you don't have any of it.
Exactly.
It's all gone. None of it matters.
Right. Gotta take care of you first.
Yeah.
Body's the temple. You gotta take care of it.
But, you know, I've lived in the times where I'd wake up and roll over into a laptop and live and breathe music. And it wasn't that long ago. So I get it. And it will happen to a lot of people. And a lot of people go through it. But, you know, you got to get there to understand it and know what it is. Right. It could be music can be an addiction, man. Like, you get on that mic and it's an addiction. It's just like anything else. It can be.
Yeah, it's the same way with comedy too. The addiction is the laugh.
Right.
Once you get that laugh, you get hooked to it. And once you get hooked to it, like you can't let it go. Like, some people just can't let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can be a good thing. I mean, they say people get lost in their music, but, you know, to me, it's just about being real. You know, like I said before, you can be the greatest singer or greatest rapper or whatever. Obviously singing's a little different. I should say you can be the biggest singer in the studio, but I want to hear your natural voice versus if you're a rapper and you're rapping about whatever the content is you're rapping about, and it doesn't match who you are as a person or what you've been through. Like, are you just out here? Are you a big storyteller? You know, are you Vanilla Ice?
Yep. Oh, he's breaking up. Oh, did he hit this audio? I don't know. Can you hear me, Chris? Oh, there you go. Sorry, like everything it just went silent for like a minute, and I was like, "Oh shit,
okay.
what happened?" Yeah. So I didn't get none of that.
But no, I was just basically stating again that, you know, an artist doesn't feel complete until they're 100% who they are in real life on the record. You know, because you're gonna build two personalities. You're gonna you're going to ego trip on, you know, a different persona. But I have the gift to see that, you know, I have that gift to look and analyze right through you as a person. Like, is this who you are on the record? Is this who you really are? Did you go through that? Did you live that lifestyle? Were you a gang banging drug dealer? Did you own a pistol? Did you tote a pistol? You know what I mean? Like, but you know, that's hip hop. Hip hop can be real metaphoric, and people can tell stories, you know. But you know, some people run out of substance, so they start rapping about what other people are doing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't write music, bro. That's why I don't write music every year, all year. Like, I write music when I'm going through shit. But you know, to be able to go back in time and resurface some of the struggles, because I'm a struggle bus. I'm a struggle writer. I like to write. I'm like a hip hop stain. So I like to write about pain, you know, like, I mean, because that's what people can stick to. People can relate to going through painful situations, just like people can relate to being in love. It's a feeling. It's what connects people to music.
Right. Yep. Yeah. You seem. It seems like the most people that connect to it are like it's either one aspect or the other. It's like either they're rocking out or they're crying. You know, it's.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, man. When you can hit people in the chest, that's when you got a fan for life. Like when we started the band, because I had to, when I first started the band, I had to go back in the catalog and grab anything that had guitars in it, and it just so happened all the songs that had guitars in it were like my real personal, you know, real life situation songs, and that became the brand. So, you know, even today, you know, in a month when I jump on stage, you know, I'm rapping about my ex-wife passing away, me raising my kids, me going through this, going through that. And these are the songs that people are like, people come up to the merch booth just in tears. Like, man, I went through the same, you know, da, 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 da. So
the connectivity.
Those songs, you know, that, like I said, man, I always tell younger artists, man, just keep it real. Don't worry about what anybody thinks. Just be you. And people are going to respect that more than anything you say on a track. They're going to respect the fact that you're being true to who you are on the record.
Right. Yeah, because there's always somebody out there going through the same stuff you are, and it's probably not the exact same situation.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah, but there's always someone out there.
You're never alone. I mean, crazy shit happens, and it's not about the fact that it happened to you. It's how are you going to move forward through it? You know, how are you going to react to it? Are you going to let it define you, or are you going to, you know? And that's why I love music, because anything I go through, I can go right into the studio and write a song about it, and it's just, there's something about it that's healing. And a part of the healing process is connecting with other people that have been through it. You know, knowing you're not the only one. You know, other people get through it too.
That's what's so dope about rehab. Like, I don't want to say, I've never been to rehab, but that's what I have people that tell me about that. That's what's so dope about rehab, is that you go in there and you're thinking, I have a problem. It's all about me, you know, it's me. And then you look around and you go, shit, it's no longer me. It's we.
Right.
We all have.
Well, and that's the problem when people are going through, and I can't speak on addiction because I've never been addicted to any kind of drug.
Right.
But I do know that, you know, any addict, everything becomes about them, especially when they're going through the withdrawal, the time period of sobering up. Everything becomes about them, which, you know, it is. But at the same time, there's other people that have gone through this. Like, I'm not going to treat you a certain way because you think you're the only one that's gone through it. Like, other people go through it. But I will never speak on addiction though, because I can't relate to it. And I know that's probably one of the toughest things for a human being to go through is beating addiction, especially when it comes to like the hardcore drugs, the heroin, the crack, you know, that kind of thing. My ex-wife passed away from, I don't know what exactly she was doing, but she had hepatitis at the end, and she drank herself right to the grave. Like her liver
Wow.
failed, her kidneys failed. So alcohol had a big part of it. But, you know, if she had hepatitis, she had needles in her. So she was into heroin and I'm sure everything in between. So
Wow.
I can't relate to it, but my household has been affected by it, you know? So
Right.
my kids have been affected by it. So I can relate to it with the damage it does, but I can't relate. I've never experienced it. So I can't speak on it like that.
Right. Yeah. I like same as you. Is like I don't call I had problems with alcohol. I didn't have to go to rehab or nothing. I just kind of quit. Like one day I just kind of looked at myself and said, "What the fuck am I doing?" And then I stopped.
Right.
And then and so like I never had to go to rehab or nothing like that. But I just being around other people, you know, that actually. Like I've had friends that went through rehab and went through the 12-step process and everything like that, and they tell me all these grueling stories about it, but they always tell me like how good, like they had to go through all this just to be themselves again, and their recovery stories are amazing.
When someone's you know addicted to drugs, they're gone, like they're buried. Their soul is so far gone, the drugs have taken over. And that's the hard part, is because you don't ever want to give up on somebody, because you know if they can find themselves again, you know, there's hope there. But a lot of the times, man, it's like when they're so far gone, you know, they would have to be forced to be sober. That's why I said the best thing that can ever happen to an addict is to commit a crime. Because
go to jail.
Jail's going to sober you up. You're not, I mean, don't get me wrong, you go to prison, you can get some drugs up in there. But
true.
It's, I don't know, man. But again, I can't speak on an addict. I can only just try to understand I know, you know, how to help an addict in certain aspects. Like obviously we got to keep you sober somehow, some way, but they only know what they're going through, man. That's a tough subject there.
Yeah, that's a tough road to cross, but yeah. But yeah, let's get into this Jack real quick. So the new single popped out on Friday, correct?
Yeah.
All right,
yep,
and
it's called Jack. So the whole thing about this track is, I didn't know what I was gonna actually call the song. I was writing the verses, and I came across, I was basically writing about my patience, because as we get older, you know, you kind of lose patience. But not only the age, it's also just I've been hearing this shit all the time, just hearing the same shit over and over and over again. Like I don't have patience for that. I don't have tolerance for that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of how the track. But it's kind of a braggadocious type track.
Okay.
Talking, you know, about Mike Tyson and some current events, and you know, dissing some people that would probably never understand who I'm talking about, but it's all in there.
It's all in there. All right. But yeah, unfortunately, we are running short on time, sir. I do want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come and chop it up with me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I always support people that are doing these kinds of things, man. I appreciate, you know, your ambition to put these kinds of podcasts together, though.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, anything I can do to help you out, man, I'll certainly do that.
Awesome. Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. And like, yeah, that's what I do. I like to make connections with people, and this is a great way to do it. Yeah. And again, thank you for coming on. If there's anything you want to promote, we are going to play the Jack track at the end of the show, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, cool. But yeah, if there's anything to promote, anything to promote or anybody to shout out, now's the time to do it, sir.
Oh man, there's too many people to shout out. I mean, everybody I've connected with in my career, they know who they are. Yeah, man, I'm not going to shout anybody out because I don't want to miss anybody, but everybody that's in my corner and everybody that's been, you know, on my squad since day one, they all know who they are.
All right. Yeah. So we are going to play Jack on the to end the show. So we're going to leave you guys with that. But first, next week on Saturday, back to our usual time, at 9 p.m. Eastern time, we have Droopy Marines coming in. and he's gonna come promote his new album, and we're gonna chop it up a little bit. Always a good time when he comes in. So we're gonna be doing that, and with that, we leave you with this track, Jack. So enjoy, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I'm a supervillain everywhere I go, pointing out the filters in you lame John Does. Fake it till you make it, emulating every show. Spit it how you live it, cookie cutter, strike a pose. Put my cape on, back to make a statement. Turn me up so they can hear me rap until my face numb. I've lost all patience, call me Jack Kevorkian. And if I'm losing you, I'll pull you back like Scorpion. I am Mike Tyson, pay me and I'll fight nice. Netflix put their camera on my ass that you can kiss twice. I'm the nice guy, everybody likes my. Wait a minute, I can read them lips, they hate inside. All this jealousy, she envious but friendly. Her skin is shedding steady, slithered through my feather sheets. She's full of lust, narcissistic from genetic seeds. Her mother's touch, well that apple don't fall from the tree. They can't compete with me, I'm secretly lyrically ill. Come from a shadow, I dismantle every beat I kill. Misunderstood the type of villain I am real. Now write the check that look like Cheerios, let's sign a deal. Put my cape on, back to make a statement. Turn me up so they can hear me rap until my face numb. I've lost all patience, call me Jack Kevorkian. And if I'm losing you, I'll pull you back like Scorpion. Put my cape on, back to make a statement. Turn me up so they can hear me rap until my face numb. I've lost all patience, call me Jack Kevorkian. And if I'm losing you, I'll pull you back like Scorpion. Now put your paint on, back to altercations. All you clowns are frowning cause I'm back from my vacation. My reputation, they tried that defamation. They can't detect me cause I turned off my location. Now where these rappers at? I'm hungry for some beef. Step into this ring so I can beat you, separate your teeth. You ain't on my level, you just rhyming words. I mix this poetry, they notice me, I'm so diverse. Now lead a herd, you flock with birds. My wife's a 12-piece, she's out your league, you stuck with theirs. They try to slander me with a plan to land a scandal on me. They Amber Heard, I'm Johnny Depp, a pirate in the sheets. I'm on that prime time, you on the sideline. I'm in a high rise, staring at the skyline. Misunderstood the type of villain I am real. Now write the check that look like Cheerios, let's sign a deal. Put my cape on, back to make a statement. Turn me up so they can hear me rap until my face numb. I've lost all patience, call me Jack Kevorkian. And if I'm losing you, I'll pull you back like Scorpion. Put my cape on, back to make a statement. Turn me up so they can hear me rap until my face numb. I've lost all patience, call me Jack Kevorkian.